Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven, my pronouns are they, them.
I'm Alison, and my pronouns are she or her.
So this week we are headed back into Townsville. We're going to be discussing the season 4 episode Flam, which is the first episode of season 4. Before we start discussing the episode, though, just a reminder to, if you haven't already, to subscribe, follow, like, comment, leave us a review, what have you, if you haven't already. We would really love the feedback. It can help get the pod out there to more people if we get more reviews. And we might even read your review or comment on the show.
Make sure to check us out on our other podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, where we are watching and discussing episodes of What We Do in the Shadows, and we're currently on season 4. And if you've not ever seen the show, it is a comedy about vampires and their familiar who live on Staten Island.
So if you think you might enjoy a mockumentary about some vampires who are significantly less evil than Dio, that might be the show for you.
Did you have any news?
I think technically yes. Let me see. I know a screenshot of that. Yeah. So we do have the English voice actors have been announced for the main cast of Still Ball Run. So we have Damon Mills as Johnny Joestar, Kaiji Tang as Gyro Zeppeli, Damian Haas as Diego Brando, Frankie Kvich as Lucy Steele, Jameson Price as Steven Steele, Alejandro Antonio Ruiz as Sandman, and Cedric Williams as Poco Loco. So I'm not super familiar with a lot of the cast, but Damon Haas I am familiar with because he voiced Laios in Delicious in Dungeon, which is another really good anime that y'all should check out.
When does that start?
I believe it is March 19th is when they're putting out the first episode. It's like 47 minutes. And then they're going to do the rest, start putting out the rest of the episodes on I think the week after that on March 26th.
Okay, I was thinking it was in March, but it's on Netflix.
Yeah, they got the rights to, I guess, stream the show after part 6 and beyond.
Is it dropping weekly or they're dropping the whole thing?
I heard they were dropping it weekly and not doing it in batches like they did with Stone Ocean, which I think a lot of people are relieved about because then there's more continual discussion about the show and stuff and not just oh, well, it's been 6 months and here's 13 more episodes or whatever. I forget exactly how they did it last time. Also, if you may already know this, but Tubi, which is a free streaming service, this is not an ad, we just really enjoy Tubi, has a giant catalog of Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers animation on there now, starting this month in March. So we got a lot of classic Cartoon Network shows. We got Powerpuff Girls, we got Teen Titans, we got Codename Kids Next Door, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and then we got on the WB side of things, I can only think of Animaniacs. But I'm glad that the original is on streaming again, because it was just their Hulu reboot. I didn't super care for that, so I'm just glad there's a place for the original, and of course for the original Cartoon Network shows as well. And it's nice to have a free streaming service, have all those available. I personally have started watching Codename Kids Next Door over from the beginning myself.
Tubi's pretty cool because you can find stuff on there maybe that you can't find anywhere else. And like we said before, it is free. I'm not sure how long they're keeping the Cartoon Network stuff. That's the only thing with it is you don't know how long
it's
keeping things. At least we haven't discovered how you figure that out. And I think if you do create an account, then it does keep track of like where you stopped watching.
Yeah, it has a lot of like cool and classic stuff on there, and just like shows that I hadn't thought about in a while, but I was like, ooh, that would be fun to watch again. They have like really old classics from like the 60s. Like we have watched a bit of like the 60s Addams Family on there. They have Dead Like Me, which is another one of my favorites. I think they have like some more modern stuff on there too, but I'm blanking on that.
We watched some old like Vincent Price, and what didn't we watch the original 13 Ghosts or something like that?
Yeah. We watched that back in October, and they have like some classic Doctor Who from like the original run, just stuff like that. Just a lot of like classic shows to like, I don't know, sink your teeth in. Just, yeah. I mean, obviously it's free, so there's commercials. It's gonna be there, but yeah, it's a very enjoyable streaming service, and they add cool new stuff on there all the time.
All right, so let's get into the episode. Film Flam. I have that it's the 75th episode, and it aired in the US April 20th, 2001. And it's a play on the term flim flam. So I've just looked it up. So it's kind of like nonsensical or insincere talk or to swindle someone. So I'm thinking this is referring to, spoiler alert, the producer that comes to Townsville. His intentions.
Flim Flam Man.
Townsville is all American with baseball and apple pie and picket fences and robberies. What sets Townsville apart is the Powerpuff Girls. So 4 robbers rob the bank and the girls catch them, including a move where Buttercup bowls Bubbles at them like a bowling ball. The girls make the news and catch the eye of a big-time Hollywood producer, Mr. Bernie Bernstein. He comes to Townsville with several semi-trucks of lights and dollies. It's probably like 8 or 10 trucks at least.
Yeah, one of them just straight up says stuff on it, which I enjoyed.
The professor drives the girls to a fancy restaurant to meet the producer and has a banana split waiting for them. I guess Bernie does. They just stare at him, so he explains he wants to make a Powerpuff Girl movie and he wants them to star as themselves. The girls cheer and he is jazzed about there being 3 of them. He says they will become rich and famous, and the girls cheer again, but Professor wants to put on the brakes so they can think about it.
Bernie guilts Professor into signing a shit ton of contracts by implying that only a super jealous and shitty parent would stop his kids from succeeding. Like, that he thinks, like, Professor is, like, jealous of the girls because they have this opportunity, and he doesn't. At home, the girls fantasize about being movie stars and argue about which of them should get top billing. Professor overhears them and looks sad. Bernie, meanwhile, has gone to the mayor and asked him to clear out the banks and all the cops in the area so he can film there. The mayor is concerned, but Bernie talks him into it by flattering the mayor into giving him all the permits for his little movie. We know he's creeped because he asks Miss Bellin to bring him coffee and calls her Toots. On Townsville Tonight, a reporter talks about the movie being their own piece of Hollywood. Bernie kicks out all the bank staff, saying they don't look enough like bank tellers, and convinces the bank manager that they need to use real money for authenticity for the shoot. The girls arrive on the set, and they're hyped up by the reporters and the townspeople. Buttercup's like, I'm the toughest, and Bubbles is like, yeah, well, you're the worst actor. Bernie shows up to talk to the press and says he's been telling the girls for years that they're super talented, even though Bubbles objects that they only met yesterday. Bernie is pissed at Bubbles for talking at all and correcting him. Meanwhile, Professor has been watching the news live from home and is enraged when he sees how Bernie Bernstein is treating his kids. Professor is furious and drives toward the set, but the other girls tell Bubbles she's going to mess up their chance at fame. Professor arrives and is told to talk to Bernie in his trailer, but there's about 100 trailers. Or it's like a big maze of them. As he's knocking on a trailer, Professor hears Bernie say, "This is a scam and that the people of Townsville are gullible. It's all a scam to steal the money from the bank." The mayor claims he studied acting for years in elementary school. The professor is dazed when he sees some cops, but they are actors. Mr. Bernstein explains
The bank scene to the girls, complete with a breakaway wall and the mayor. He says they'll let the robbers go, which doesn't jive with the girls. Professor sidles up to a security guard and tries to chit-chat about the movie and how he invented the girls. The guard won't let him in.
Professor sneaks into casting where a bunch of recurring villains, which I believe were MoJo, the Gangrene Gang, and maybe the Amoeba Boys. But they're only looking for a woman for the part he's auditioning for. On set, the girls are terrible little actors. Blossom insists that she should get Buttercup's lines instead because she's the leader, and Bubbles is upset that she has no lines when she's the cutest. Buttercup says she can't work like this and walks off set. Meanwhile, Professor has snuck onto set in drag, pretending to be a fake bank teller. As soon as the camera rolls again, Professor, still in disguise, tries to get the girls' attention and scolds Bernie for trying to exploit his kids. Bernie tries to make it seem like Professor is just jealous that he didn't get a part in the movie. Bernie seems like he's going to get away with it. Professor points out there's no film in the camera, and Bernie says it's merely rehearsal, and therefore no need for film. And the script is blank also. But Bernie says they're going for more of an improvised realism. I forget what specific term he used, but it's like, there's no scam. See, if it were, this gun would have real bullets, then fires holes into the ceiling. He grabs the mayor and steals a cop car from one of the actor cops.
Somewhere in there, Professor pleads to be believed, and Bubbles says she believes him. Bernie steals a police car, and the girls pursue him, with Professor following on foot in heels. So he's hairy-legged and everything. Bernie shoots at them, but they dodge. He crashes into a fire hydrant when the mayor distracts him. He threatens to shoot the mayor, but the mayor takes the gun and shows Bernie how to act. I don't know what that refers to.
He was basically like, no, this isn't convincing enough. But he starts doing like sort of like a silly, like Brooklyn type gangster voice.
Bernie pleads, but Professor punches him. The girls apologize and say the movie idea was dumb, but Professor gets jazzed about him being the star of a movie about making a Powerpuff movie. The narrator says Professor looks like his mom. So it's just kind of funny. They're like, I feel like there's at least like twice where they're like, that would be silly to make a movie about us. And then I think after this season, they make a movie about them.
Yeah, it's probably like in production around the same time and everything. Probably like well known at this point that there was going to be a movie.
So I have Bernie as Tom Kenny, and then I think like his assistant Donnie was Don Shank. I think we see those guys a bunch doing voices in the Powerpuff Girls. They sound familiar anyway. Is Tom Kenny the narrator?
I think so, yeah. And then I think Don Shanks is like one of the writers or storyboarders or both.
So I go into the wiki just to like see what it says, because sometimes I don't know that they put correct things. But it says the professor was supposed to be like Tootsie, which is the Dustin Hoffman movie where he becomes a woman so he can get cast on like a soap opera. I thought he looked, I know the hair was kind of different, but he looks an awful lot like Miss Bellum.
Yeah, I definitely got more of a Miss Bellum vibe too.
I mean, I think Tootsie does wear a red dress at some point, but it is like a soap opera, so they're like changing outfits all the time.
Right.
And then they said Bernie was named after the famous Hollywood agent Bernie Brillstein. And then this is real close to when this aired, but William Hanna of Hanna-Barbera died March 22nd, 2001.
Yeah, I think it said like it still has like his name on the credits somewhere, but I think that was why it was noted on the wiki like he'd already died, but his name just still is on the credits.
No, but it was very close to when these aired.
Yeah,
this was April and that was March. It just seems like this guy like spent a whole lot of money in order to just steal money.
Yeah,
from a bank.
I'm just like, why didn't he just go rob another bank where the Powerpuff Girls aren't there?
I mean, he watched them on TV and knew that they could catch robbers. I don't know if he just thought if he could be sneakier about it. I mean, I think this guy is supposed to be a real producer, though, so I'm sort of confused on that part.
Yeah, they're like, he's a director, producer, agent. I'm like, that's so many things. Maybe the scheme had been like different than just like, oh, I'm gonna stage a fake robbery, even though it's a real robbery. Maybe it would have made a little more sense to me. Like, you could still have the setup where he's like doing the fake movie as a distraction or something, but maybe he has like his goons elsewhere while that's going on, so that the girls aren't there or something.
I guess like having it right there, right under the Powerpuff Girls' noses, and then he couldn't even just like keep it together to not be like a jerk to them or like not say, like really loudly what they were up to that anyone could have heard. But I mean, you have the girls right there, and then you didn't really treat them well. So it's like
Yeah.
maybe if he'd been like he hadn't dropped his facade, that they would have been more into like ignoring maybe some red flags
Indeed.
and went along with the movie thing. But maybe even have film in the camera. And I don't know. Everyone was super hesitant. Like Professor was hesitant, but then talked into it almost immediately. But even like the mayor kind of being like questioning stuff was a little surprising, I guess, because he's usually like easily duped.
Yeah. It would have made a little bit more sense if like Miss Bellum had been like, I don't know about this, but then the mayor's like, it's great. But she's just kind of there for Bernie just to be like sexist too. I mean, I think that in itself was supposed to be a red flag, but
I mean, I guess it's not like a huge surprise. Like sometimes, like a big producer or a big star might be like a jerk or something. Because we just kept seeing Professor like kind of hearing and seeing things that he was disappointed about.
yeah.
And I mean, the girls arguably are big stars already. I don't know outside of Townsville if they're like super known, but they're stars in Townsville.
Yeah. Big names and they're fairly well liked. It would be like if he went up to like Spider-Man in New York and he's like, we're gonna make you a big star. It's like he's already in all the newspapers and shit.
I mean, Spider-Man wants to hide his identity, so it needs to be someone who's I'm not sure what other.
I was just trying to think of a superhero that I super connected to like a specific city or region, so Spider-Man was the first.
Yeah, I don't think Spider-Man would agree to it because he's trying to hide his identity, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because the girls don't wear a disguise. They don't change clothes to go beat people up. Someone might try to follow Spider-Man around. It just seemed like he kind of already had the money, like, I don't know. I'm not sure how much money would be in Townsville Bank.
What was his motivation? Other than just he wanted Townsville's money.
Yeah, I don't really get that it's super rich necessarily. So, like you said, like if they were just filming and then his guys were like, maybe they were going around like robbing the jewelry store or the museum or like someone rich in town.
Yeah.
They were just like way too obvious about the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just think that the heist and the distraction shouldn't have been the same thing. I know these are only like little half-hour episodes and it's a cartoon for children. But I don't know, sometimes I'm just like, but what was the logic behind that? And the logic was just that the writers decided to come up with this scenario. I think we're ending our discussion here. Next time, we're going to be talking about the episode All Chalked Up. Another piece of news I forgot is there's like a Hello Kitty times Powerpuff Girls like merch crossover going on right now. I've just seen like a t-shirt, a hoodie, and some like little plush keychains, which are like in blind bags. But they're pretty cute. I think there's some regular size plushes as well. I forgot about that. They're pretty cute. I wish they skewed a little bit more away from the reboot design, but I probably would still purchase them. So we got like Buttercup and Kuromi dressed as each other, Bubbles and Cinema Roll, and then Blossom and Hello Kitty. And I think they have Professor with Pochicon. I forget if they have with MoJo or if they have one with MoJo. I was thinking there was one. But it's a pretty cute little crossover.
Smash all those buttons for us.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment, follow, give us a review. Really help us out if we were able to get out there to more listeners. And leaving a review is a pretty concrete way you can help us do that. And, if you have anyone you'd like to suggest the pod to who are either already into Powerpuff Girls or JoJo, or who you'd like to get into the Powerpuff Girls or JoJo, maybe direct them to us.
And don't forget what we pod in the shadows.
So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.